Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome back. I'm actually going to be going to the voiceover format of this video just because this is a story with a little bit more of a serious tone about karma and revenge, and honestly, how I got to live a fantasy that a lot of people deep down wish for because we are vengeful human beings most of the time. As much as we hear all that stuff like turn the other cheek, don't take revenge, it's in our nature to have that vengeful impulse. Like if someone slights us, we gotta slight them back. It's interesting because we really deny that, but very few of us say, okay, well that vengeful impulse is there. And there was actually a time where I got to see a karmic resolution to one of the main antagonists of my life, and just basically what I felt leading up to the fact. But anyway, we're going to move on and get to the beginning because it all goes back to high school. And this one bully that started a lot for me. Like, I think that he actually started what was the first day of the rest of my life when I got into high school. Because when I got into high school, we're going to call this kid Steven for the duration of the video, just to keep his name and the family's name out of the public. I don't want to throw them under the bus or anything like that, and I want to just show a little bit of reverence towards how this story ends. But Steven and what we call the popular crowd, because we did end up going to a private school, and this quote-unquote popular crowd, basically every single last one of them kind of dropped out of this school and ended up going somewhere else with their lives. Like, none of them actually graduated. I graduated from this school, but the crowd, especially Steven, ended up flunking out or pulling out because they just couldn't handle the education level. But I remember coming in from middle school, like very enthusiastic to start my high school career as a freshman, and it was basically nothing much of a significant change. I mean, there was still a lot of the bullying from the upperclassmen that you had to deal with, a lot of the high school hierarchies and everything that you were introduced to and whatnot. But my older brother and Steven's older brother had a long time rivalry going up, and this was an interesting time in my life because the younger brother Steven just wanted to keep that generational stuff going. I don't know if it was because he was bored or whatever, but him and his friends kind of singled me out and targeted me, and it wasn't just in a physical realm, but they also would get like popular girls and stuff like that to get me to catch feelings for them, just so that they could turn around and start messing with my emotions. Like, these kids were actually master manipulators at not only hurting someone on the outside, but like destroying their insides. And even then, it's like, I remember my parents used to say, don't give them too much credit, they're not that smart. Like, on a sadistic level, these kids really were that smart. But it was almost like I stopped enjoying going to high school. Like, I wasn't looking forward to going to class. Everything about my freshman experience in high school was to endure pain, endure hardships. In the first 2 years of high school, I really just didn't have anything going for me because of the events that had followed. Because it got so bad to the point where I snapped at one of the cool club kids, and he contacted the police and told them that I had weapons and substances in my backpack, which was a lie. But that was after I had lashed out and snapped at him, and it got so bad to the point where they pulled me into a guidance counselor and took me over to therapist, because also what had happened was I was also entered the sphere as the chubby child, and I stopped eating, and I was really trying to lose the weight, so I became anorexically thin. So I go into high school, I was a bit on the chunkier side, but on the inside, my spirit was intact. I was happy. I was I had a sense of confidence, security, and I think all that changed because I was a thin, shriveled up um, ghost of a person who really just felt an empty pit where his heart used to be. They did that good of a job of just breaking me down, and they took me to a therapist, and instead of asking if there were outside factors contributing, they diagnosed me as bipolar and all of these things. And it was years of medication followed by years of me thinking that there was something wrong with me, when really I was just being abused into um, being someone different. I think I was suffering from a lot of deep-seated trauma, emotional trauma, physical trauma, that there was never someone shaking me as a kid saying, "Hey, are you okay?" I was kind of like left alone to fester. And then on top of that, I had to take like 3 different medications a day, and it was very militant too, because every time I would try to ask my mom or dad, like, authentically, for some sort of like lifeline, right? They would say, "No, you don't know what's best for you. The doctor does. You're manic. Just take your medication, and it should all be better." And then sometimes what happened was that medication wasn't getting the results, so then they'd proceed to trying to ground the symptoms of the alleged bipolar disorder out of me. So it was just mishandled by my entire community, and all of it was kind of started because this Steven kid chose to ignite a fire that would just burn my life down bit by bit as he watched and as he laughed. And I was always told as a kid, it's just always going to be my fault. It's all my fault. So, I mean, in the years leading up to that, when you're convinced for probably about 6 years after that that you do have a mental illness, when really you don't, you just had a natural human capacity to need love and acceptance, which got denied. And it was a painful time in my life. All I'm going to say is that. Now, one of the things I would hear from my classmates of further invalidation is, you just can't put all that on that Steven kid. Maybe, but let me ask you a question. If a kid's playing with fireworks in a neighborhood and accidentally sets a house ablaze, he didn't expect the firework to go that far and set the houses ablaze. So can you blame the kid for shooting the firework that was going to misfire and hit something and cause a gigantic catastrophe? I'm pretty sure you could. So every series of events does have a catalyst, and he was that catalyst. Whether the bad friends I had, quote unquote bad friends, because I had such a poor understanding of self-worth that I attracted a lot of friends who were not confidence boosters or uplifting people or anything like that. Just they were more enemies that I would call friends, just so I could feel better about myself, being alone. But rest assured, it was just a long few years of invalidation. And as I had gotten over the ideas of being bipolar and the ideas of being mentally ill and the ideas of being quote unquote manic, like my mom used to tell me, even though if anything I was depressed. I felt like I had a long journey of crawling out of a pit of despair that I eventually had to crawl myself out of, and no one was helping me out of that pit of self-doubt, despair, second guessing everything I did. No one really gave me an authentic arm to help out that I could count, except for myself. I did all the work to pull myself out and make myself a better human being that was actually worth something. And every day I wake up and I thank the Lord that I didn't end up on the wrong side of that depression, and I was able to find myself by actually shutting off the noise of everybody else. But years later actually went by, and this was when I was in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and I had been coming off of an injury. And it was funny because during that time, it's weird when the universe sends you these curveballs, and I'm just a normal guy working a normal job, living a normal life at this time, doing way better than I ever thought I was gonna have to do in my life. I could literally look at that moment in my life, and I was literally saying I made it out of an area of harshness that I didn't think was ever going to end, and I honestly thought I wasn't going to make it out. So it was a surprise to see me kicking around for a lot of my high school peers. It's actually also funny how a lot of your high school peers would ignore the stuff while it's happening in high school, and then as adults realize, okay, yeah, no, we treated you really badly, and we gave you a really hard time in life. But I had come across another classmate. I'm going to call him Andrew, who had gone through his own life journey, which took kind of a tailspin of itself, where he kind of just made some decisions that ended up in some problems for him, and he was getting his life back together. So you got to respect him pulling himself out of the wreckage of what he had done, and he took full accountability. And even he, as a friend, I could actually call him a friend because he was one of the people in my class that always had something nice to say about everybody. It was actually kind of sad to see him go from a good kid to what he was doing. And I'm going to leave what he was doing out of the video. But it was just a far cry from who he used to be. Like, I don't know if you've ever listened to that song, The Kids Aren't All Right by The Offspring. I think that's honestly my high school experience, where you flash forward in the future and it's such a far cry from what we originally see. But even Andrew clarified about how cruelly I was treated and how bad it must have been and how horrible those years were for me, and just, how emotionally draining I said. Because I even told him, like, even nowadays as an adult, I just don't have certain emotional capacities for certain things like a normal human being would do. The trauma of those years had actually done quite a number on me that, a lot of people would not see. Now, obviously, when I walk around, I have a bit of a scowl on my face that just says, "Get away from me." And I don't blame myself for having that scowl sometimes, because, people didn't give me reasons to be very excited about being around him. But on top of that, he asked me what had happened to Steven. And I said, I don't know. After sophomore year, he completely disappeared off the map, and I never saw him. And he sat down, right? And this is where I actually firmly believe karma has cycles, and karma comes and takes people. Because Steven might not have understood the weight of what I went through, right? I can't really say what he put me through, but what I went through because of him. But the way Andrew talked about what had happened to Steven is after he got out and after he was in a normal high school, and then he got into college, he said that they actually saw him and he was on a bar strip, and he was holding 2 bottles of wine, and he was just absolutely under the influence, and people basically testified that this kid had completely lost his mind. So it's crazy because he took my sense of reality. So in return, in the future, he lost his sense of reality. And it got so bad to the point where even Andrew tried helping Steven out, and he said, "Hey, Steven, what are you doing, man? Where are you at? Where have you been?" And he just looks at Andrew and says, "I don't even know who you are." Like, people realized he was very far gone. And long story short, it eventually led to his deletion from this world. Now, whether it was self-inflicted or just natural causes, or he did something, I don't know. I'm not going to put words anymore in this, because once someone has left this world, I just want to show them the respect, right? I know that using this to make a video and make content is kind of contradictory to that, but I just want you guys to know that I lived the ultimate fantasy of getting quote-unquote revenge on your high school bully in one of the darkest ways possible, or at least karma catching up to your high school bully. I don't know where his family was at. I don't know what happened after that, but me and some friends met up and they asked what happened to the kid. And I said, this is what I heard, and we actually found confirmation on one of my high school's posts that, yes, he is no longer with us. And how did I feel after hearing about the ultimate karma in my life? I don't know. I could say that I really just wished his soul the best. Karma comes in mysterious ways that no one really thinks about. And maybe there was some stuff going up on his life that gave him the pressures to make my life a living rundown. But it didn't really feel better because it doesn't undo all the things in the past that have happened. I still went through those times. Those are years of a normal high school and early college experience that I'm never going to get back. And I've made peace with the fact that I'm never going to get back those years living as just a normal American teenager because, I mean, I just didn't get that experience growing up. And I think I've made peace with that. Did I grow up with some significant issues? Yes. Did I grow up scarred from my past? Yes. And I think the only way of changing that or having any ability to change that is to forgive and move forward. You know, I think if anything, what more can that kid pay, right? What more can he go through that's going to justify what, he did? I don't think he intended for things to go as far as they did. But he probably was just ignorant to a lot of things going on because a lot of high school students are just, at the end of the day, they are ignorant, they are idiotic, and they do dumb things all the time. But I think the only thing that I could do to help myself is to move forward, to understand what's done is done. The price is paid or the price is paid. And the past might be wrecked, but that can't stop me from building a better future. And I'm here today and he's not. And maybe there's a reason for that. But I think that's why I really do believe in karma. But I will say, revenge, it's not as satisfying as a lot of people make it out to be. I mean, in the short term, it is satisfying. But in the long term, eventually you're going to need something else to get that dopamine rush you do. And it's when they say vengeance doesn't fix things long term, just trust me, they're telling the truth. I don't think that's just movie propaganda. But hope you enjoyed the story. Peace out.